So, as you guys know, I've been selling on Amazon for the past 4 years. In this podcast, I'm going to be interviewing a China boss, basically, Rico of SourceFind Asia. We got him on the line here. And yeah, his company, SourceFind Asia, basically takes all the hassle out of sourcing in Asia. And we're actually going to be talking about a little product idea that I have. He's been, selling on Amazon for how many years now?
Well, I've been sourcing for Amazon sellers for the past 4 or 5 years. I am actually getting into Amazon now, but that's a whole other
Okay.
story we never talked about.
Okay, right. So you've been sourcing for Amazon. So you've been in China for like 4 or 5 years then?
Yeah, I moved September 2014,
Okay, cool.
so it's literally 5 years, like this month. Yeah, so
Nice. Yeah, that's yeah, same with me. 5 years. First came to Asia October 2014. So yeah.
nice.
Yeah, he's got a YouTube channel. Looks like I'm not able to share the screen here right now, but anyway, YouTube channel is SourceFind Asia, where he does interviews with entrepreneurs who are sourcing in Asia and selling physical products. Because as you guys know, that is my full-time income, selling physical products, and of course, most physical products come from China. And so Rico's company basically like one of the core things that I've been kind of looking for years is they kind of handle the product sourcing for you. So let's say you have an idea, you've done the product research, you have an idea of this product. Instead of looking on Alibaba, looking over 50 million pages and ordering a bunch of samples and blah, 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 blah. His company basically does that for you. They look on Alibaba, and not just Alibaba, but like other places, and they know how to get the best price, the best quality product. And also so you guys will order different samples to your office and test samples for us, right?
Yeah. So we do, like you mentioned. We will research your suppliers. We vet the suppliers. When you want to, we have a service called sample consolidation. This is pretty popular with Amazon sellers. Is like, even if you found your factories and you've done all the research yourself, you could ship over, let's say, 5, 6 samples to our office. And then we do like a review of those samples, consolidate them into one package and ship them out to you in the States
Uh-huh.
or in
Nice.
or whatever. So like,
Okay.
and I'm sure, as you know, like when you order individual samples and express ship them, it's like, $40-$50 a pop, right? So
Yeah.
it can add up if you've got multiple samples.
Oh, wow. That makes a lot of sense. Boom. Yeah, you can even save money to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. And then of course, so the next step that I've always been confused with is wondering if I'm getting the best price. So will you handle like negotiations? And do you have a Chinese person on the ground who speaks the language and knows the business?
Yeah, so we're at 3 employees in the Guangzhou office, another 3 employees in northern China, in Nantong, all Chinese.
Nice.
And then
Nice.
we have one guy's the marketing intern that we were talking about before. He's from Ottawa, and then we have a sales guy who's from Finland. So, and then we have 2 editors in the Philippines, YouTube and podcast editors. So
Nice.
we definitely have a lot of Chinese people on the ground. Our team speaks Cantonese, Mandarin, English.
Yeah.
We do handle negotiations. However, I always say cheap is expensive. I don't try to squeeze suppliers too much, just because they will cut corners and they'll try to make up that margin somewhere.
I see.
What I always find is best when it comes to price negotiation is just getting numbers, just getting as many quotations as possible. Because if you get like 10, 15 quotes, right, you're always going to have a couple quotes that are really expensive, a couple quotes that are really cheap, and then most of them are going to fall in the middle. Then it's about getting the samples and comparing the quality. So if you get a sample that's cheap but is basically the same quality as the top level sample, then you don't necessarily need to negotiate too much. You can just use that factory, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Got it. But your company will kind of handle all that process.
Yeah, so we do all that research. We take the tedious sitting on
Yeah.
Alibaba talking to 20, 50 suppliers and the back and
Yeah.
forth with the emails or WeChat or WhatsApp and
Okay.
Skype. We do all that stuff. Yeah.
huge. That's a huge thing. And then the next thing that is a big thing that we've only been able to do recently is get payment terms, better payment terms with our suppliers. So now we have better payment terms. It's taken us a while to finally get this with them. Does your company help with that?
We do. What I find with the payment terms, it's always a relationship thing. The first time you work with a supplier, they're always going to ask you to do 30%, 70%. But if you're consistent with them, you pay them on time, your orders are consistent in size, you're growing. I would say within 6 months to a year, you can definitely negotiate payment terms. I think one of the most common ones would be like net 30. So paying them 30 days after the shipment leaves, or paying them once the product arrives at the port. Like that's with a 0% down payment. So we could definitely negotiate those.
Nice.
The best payment terms we've ever gotten for one of our clients was about net 60. But that was after we'd been working with the factory for a year and a half, and they'd literally like quadrupled the size of their orders. So it was like, look, like you see how quickly this company is growing. If you can allow us to keep the cash flow in Canada, then we're gonna be increasing the order quantities anyways. So
yeah, nice.
It also helps if they're signing a contract with a Chinese company. So I have a Chinese corporation. So the factories feel a little bit safer because we're there. So that there's somebody that they can go and say, hey, you owe us money, Whereas if they sign a contract with a foreign entity, it's like, what are they going to do? They're going to fly out to Belgium to try to sue you,
Cool.
Yeah.
So your company can assist with that. Because like as an English person, like on WeChat talking about this to Chinese person, like you just never know, like if you're even in the same ballpark, like what's going on. So okay, good. So you have Chinese people who speak Chinese that can assist with that. And then the other thing is I'm always wondering about is importing prices, shipping prices. I'm sure you got that down to a T of how to get your clients the best shipping rates.
Yeah, so similar to the supplier research, it's all about getting as many quotes as possible. There are standards in terms of, like, you can look this up online in terms of how much 1 kilo should cost in terms of a shipment. Yeah. But it fluctuates, right? It fluctuates with where you're shipping to. It fluctuates with whether you're shipping an LCL or a full container. So LCL is like you share a container with other people. Sometimes people think they're shipping LCL and the container is not full, and guess who the shipping company passes that cost on to? It's going to be you. So it's all about getting multiple quotes, getting as many quotes as possible. We have a freight forwarder we've been working with for 5+ years. Like this partner worked before me, so he was with the same freight forwarder, and we have payment terms with that freight forwarder. We pay them 60 days after delivery. Like, so that's nice. Another aspect is like taking advantage of relationships,
Yeah. So boom, you guys got that handled. Now people ask me a lot about shipping. So boom, got that handled. Make sure you're getting the best shipping price. And if it's same thing with Express Air, like, the go-to, best rates for that.
Yeah. I mean, a little pro tip with air shipments. It's actually depending on where you're shipping from. So if your factory is like in southern China, talk to your freight forwarder about shipping through Hong Kong, because it's actually cheaper. Like DHL and all the express shipping companies in Hong Kong are significantly less expensive than shipping from mainland. So whenever we ship out, remember I mentioned like the sample consolidation service that we do. Whenever we ship out a package to a client in the States, we ship it to Hong Kong first, which takes a day, and then it ships from Hong Kong to the US. And let's say the shipment from Hong Kong costs $35, $40. In mainland China, it would be 50 or 60. So you can extrapolate that into mass production.
Nice. Yeah, actually, now I just realized why all my samples, I'm looking at a box right now, why it always says coming from Hong Kong. Got it.
Yeah, whoever you're working with is smart. They're trying to save that money, man.
Yeah, I got a big box right here. Got my name on it, Riley, Indonesia.
Yeah.
My sample boxes. Anyway, okay, cool. And then, of course, the next thing that you help with is if you have an original design, like I have one, I can basically bring you some, PowerPoint presentations of design, and you can basically vet if that's possible. And then if so, find the right supplier that makes sense to make it and kind of oversee like the A to Z.
Yeah, so we do whenever we take on project management projects, we do like a free evaluation. So the first step would be we hop on a call, 15 minutes, we discuss the project, then we'd have you fill out a document, what we call an extraction sheet with all the information about your project. You'd send us whatever information you have. We sign an NDA with everybody. You can send us your design files, or if you have like literally like a drawing on a piece of paper, you can send that to us, whatever. We would then talk to our designers, depending on which product it is. Depends on the designers. Some of the designers are freelancers that we found online on Upwork. Some of them are Chinese mechanical engineers that we communicate with. And then we want to talk to a few factories just to see what the practical implications are with making this product. Like, I know a lot of people think that you should start talking to factories much later, but I think it's better to talk to a factory when you're actually designing the product, because if you design it in a bubble, you're going to then take it to the factory, and the factory is going to say this is not practical for manufacturing. You need to redesign X, Y, and Z element of this product, right? So it's better to get them in early. So usually what will happen is after we do our evaluation, takes like maybe a week, we'll come back with like a basic timeline and a quotation, and we'll say, okay, the factories, the initial feedback that we've gotten from the factories is, if you're going to make this product, this will be the issues with designing it, this will be the issues with manufacturing it, and all that stuff. So yeah, and then we give a quote for our services. So some people want to use our designers, some people have their own. That's completely fine. But of course, we want to be involved and handle all the communication with the manufacturer, or leading all the way into mass production. And we talked about this before the pod here. I always say it takes 6 months at minimum to realize an original design.
Yeah, I say that for private label.
Yeah. So 6 months to a year. Like, I mean, we've done at this stage, I want to say we've done original design manufacturings in the past 4 years. I feel like we've done at least 30 successfully. And I can't think of the shortest timeline has been 6 months. One of them took a year and a half. One of them took 2 years. There was one client that came to us that had been trying to make their product for 3 years, and then we were able to do it in 8 months. So yeah, it always takes longer just because you're designing something that didn't exist before. There's just issues that unknown unknowns that you can't even predict.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the case with any type of online business or online selling anyway. Like really any business, actually. Things always take longer than expected. That's kind of life. And then the other thing that, as we talked about in your podcast, which I forgot to mention, go check out his podcast. It's called Made in China. So we just did an interview with me, or Rico interviewed me about kind of my online selling and digital nomad journey. So you guys can go subscribe and leave a good review. Also for my podcast, I need more reviews too. I never ask. So go subscribe to both of our podcasts if you're not ready, and leave a good review if you're a fan. And then the other thing that's mentioned in the 4 Hour Work Week is patents. So I've always had that in the back of my mind. Like one day I want to have a patent and I want to make licensing money. Have you dealt with that?
I have. Patents are a long, arduous, and expensive process. I personally, my perspective is like, and also a lot of China entrepreneurs that are even more experienced than I am, you don't want to worry about that until you're actually making some real money from the product, because you could spend a ton of money on lawyer fees and things like that to have your product patented, and then just not sell the product. And generally, if you're worried about Chinese manufacturers copying you, they don't want to copy a product that isn't selling, right? Like they want to go for products that are guaranteed sellers. Like for them to take an original design and replicate that on the off chance that it might sell, they're just not going to do it until it's making some money. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it until you're selling.
Yeah,
But
I think
if you are selling pretty well, one thing would end is just getting a patent, a global patent in the US or whatever, getting a Chinese patent as well, a Chinese trademark, because I mean, you know that all these brands have suffered with Chinese copycat
yeah,
manufacturers like shipping out their product. And there's one story from I want to say 6 years ago when the first iPad was released. There was a company in China that had trademarked the name iPad. And when the first shipment of iPads was leaving China, with the Chinese trademark you could block a shipment from leaving the country. They held up Apple's first shipment of iPads at the
mm,
port. And to make a long story short, Apple ended up having to pay this company 20 or 30 million US dollars to
yeah,
acquire the name iPad.
yep,
So yeah, at the very least, if you are making serious money and you get a Chinese trademark, you can block other people's shipments from leaving China, but you
okay,
won't be able
cool.
to stop them from selling with it.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like I have these original designs. I'm thinking if someone can advise me on saying, yes, if this is a seller, this is patentable, because that
Yeah.
would just be a double whammy incentive to get this thing going and trying it. Because if it's patentable and it ends up being successful, boom, I can patent it down the line. But some things are not
Um.
patentable from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, with that, like you could just get in contact with. We have lawyers that you can get in contact with and ask those kind of questions. Um. Yeah.
Cool.
So we have a network for that. That's not an issue.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think that was a great overview of kind of what you do. So, Source Find Asia is the YouTube channel, and Made in China is the podcast. Rico is out there getting that money over in China, based in Manila now. But yeah, hit him up. You guys know the website. So yeah, that's it.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Cheers. I'm sure I will catch you around the world sometime.
Yeah, you might just see me in Indonesia soon, man. It's
Yeah,
on
man.
my it's on my list of next places to go to. So yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Bali is the spot. Alrighty. Peace.